You're shopping online. It's a Wednesday night. You're browsing for a new winter jacket. You find one you like. $280. That's more than you wanted to spend, but it's nice. Good quality. Should last years. You're about to close the tab. Then you see it. Right at checkout. Or pay $70 over 4 payments with Affirm. No interest. $70. That's manageable. That's way easier than $280 right now. And it says no interest. So you're not paying extra. You're just spreading the cost out. It's basically like putting it on layaway, but you get the jacket now. You click. You set up the account. It takes 90 seconds. You're approved. The jacket ships. 4 payments of $70 auto-debit from your checking account over the next 8 weeks. And 2 weeks later, you're shopping for shoes. Same thing. $160. Or 4 payments of $40. You do it again. Then a month later, a small furniture piece. $380. Or $95 over 4 months. And suddenly you've got 5 different buy now, pay later plans running simultaneously. Between Affirm, Klarna, and Afterpay, you've got $235 in payments coming out every 2 weeks. You didn't consciously plan this. Each purchase felt small, manageable, no interest, just spreading the cost. But now $235 is coming out twice a month, and your bank account is constantly tighter than it should be. And there's this realization. You've created a payment treadmill without ever getting a credit card. My name's Peter, and if you've ever used Buy Now, Pay Later, thinking it's a smarter way to buy things, and you want to understand the psychological mechanisms these companies use to get you spending more than you would otherwise, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because BNPL isn't just convenient, it's engineered to make you buy more often, for higher prices. Today we are exposing the Buy Now, Pay Later industry and the psychological trap hiding behind those 4 interest-free payments.
So let's start with what actually happens to your finances when you're managing multiple BNPL plans. You're making $59,000 a year. After taxes, about $3,650 take-home monthly. Rent, $1,480. Car payment, $410. Student loans, $265. Insurance and utilities, $330. Groceries, $340. That's $2,825 in fixed expenses. You've got $825 discretionary. Now add the BNPL payments. You've got 5 active plans. Jacket, $70 every 2 weeks, 2 payments remaining. Shoes, $40 every 2 weeks, 3 payments remaining. Furniture, $95 every 2 weeks, 3 payments remaining. Headphones, $55 every 2 weeks, 2 payments remaining. Fitness equipment, $85 every 2 weeks, 4 payments remaining. Total, $345 every 2 weeks, or $690 per month in BNPL payments. You're down to $135 discretionary. For gas, for anything social, for any buffer whatsoever. And here's the thing. None of these felt like big purchases when you made them. Each one was broken down into small, digestible chunks. $70 here, $40 there. Individually manageable. But collectively, they've consumed $690 of your monthly income. That's 18.9% of your take-home pay going to payment plans for purchases you could have saved up for or skipped entirely. And here's what's particularly insidious. These are all no-interest plans. You're not paying interest like you would on a credit card, but you're still paying. You're just paying differently. You're paying in constrained cash flow. You're paying in reduced financial flexibility. You're paying in the inability to save. And you're paying in increased likelihood that when an unexpected expense hits, you'll have no choice but to put it on a credit card, because all your margin is consumed by BNPL payments.
Let's look at what happens over 6 months of BNPL usage. January, you buy the jacket. $280, 4 payments of $70. February, shoes, $160, fitness equipment, $340. Now you've got 3 plans running. Payments, $165 every 2 weeks. March, headphones, $220. Furniture, $380. 5 plans active. Payments, $345 every 2 weeks. April, plans starting to complete, but you add new ones. A home decor item, $240. Payments stay around $300 to $350 every 2 weeks. May, same pattern. Old plans complete, new ones start. You're in equilibrium at about $320 every 2 weeks in payments. June, still carrying 4 or 5 active plans at any time. Over these 6 months, you've purchased about $1,820 in items through BNPL. You paid no interest. But here's what you didn't do. You didn't save. You didn't build an emergency fund. You didn't pay extra on your student loans. You didn't invest. Every dollar that went to BNPL payments was a dollar that could have been building actual financial security. Instead, it went to consumer goods that you purchased impulsively because the payment plans made them feel affordable. And here's the comparison that makes this clear. If instead of using BNPL, you had saved $320 every 2 weeks and only bought things when you had the cash, you'd have $3,840 saved over 6 months, and you'd probably have bought maybe $800 worth of the $1,820 in items, the things you actually needed versus the things that felt easy to buy because of payment plans. Net position without BNPL, $3,040 better off, $3,840 saved minus $800 spent. Actual position with BNPL, $1,820 in consumer goods, $0 saved. Same income, completely different financial position, all because BNPL made spending feel frictionless.
Most people think BNPL is better than credit cards because there's no interest. And on the surface, that's true. 0% interest is better than 20% interest. That's not the point. The point is that BNPL isn't designed to save you money. It's designed to make you spend more money than you would if you had to pay cash up front. Here's how it works. When you're shopping and you see a $280 jacket, your brain does a quick calculation. Do I have $280? Can I afford this right now? And often the answer is no, or maybe, so you don't buy it. But when you see $70 over 4 payments, your brain does a different calculation. Do I have $70? Can I afford $70? And suddenly, yes, $70 feels manageable. The purchase happens. This is called payment parsing. By breaking a single price into smaller chunks, the companies change how your brain evaluates affordability. You're not thinking about whether you can afford $280. You're thinking about whether you can afford $70. And $70 is easier to justify than $280. So you buy things with BNPL that you would have skipped if you had to pay in full. The data is consistent across multiple retail studies. BNPL users spend 20-30% more than cash buyers. Same income, same products available, but the presence of payment plans increases total spending significantly. And the companies know this. That's why they push BNPL so aggressively at checkout. It's not because they care about making things affordable for you. It's because they know it increases conversion rates and average order values. You buy more, and you buy more expensive items. There's another psychological mechanism at play here that's even more subtle. It's called mental accounting fragmentation. When you pay $280 for a jacket with cash or a debit card, your brain registers one transaction, one hit to your financial resources. It's painful, not agonizing, but there's friction. You feel the purchase. When you pay $70 over 4 payments, your brain registers it differently. It doesn't feel like you spent $280. It feels like you committed to $70. And then 2 weeks later, when the payment comes out, it doesn't feel like part of the jacket purchase. It just feels like a routine payment, like rent or utilities, something you pay, not something you bought. So the pain of the purchase is disassociated from the actual cost. You never psychologically experience spending $280. You experience 4 separate $70 obligations that don't connect back to the jacket in your mind. This makes it much easier to justify the next BNPL purchase, because you never fully process the cost of the last one. You're accumulating commitments without psychologically registering the accumulation, and over time you end up with what you have now, 5 simultaneous payment plans, totaling $690 a month, and it doesn't feel like you've spent $1,820. It just feels like you have some payments to make.
Let's talk about what this costs over a year of typical BNPL usage compared to alternatives. Over 12 months, you use BNPL for about $3,200 in purchases. You pay no interest, but you spend $3,200 on consumer goods. Alternative 1, you save $265 a month, roughly what you're paying in BNPL on average. After 12 months, you have $3,180 saved. You use that to buy maybe $1,200 worth of things you actually needed and wanted after thinking about them. Net position, $1,980 in savings. Alternative 2, you use a 0% intro APR credit card for necessary purchases. Pay it off within the promo period and invest the same $265 monthly. After 12 months, $3,180 invested, growing at 7% annually.
The BNPL path leaves you with consumer goods and no savings. The alternatives leave you with savings or investments, plus the items you actually needed. Over 5 years, if you continue the BNPL pattern, you'll spend about $16,000 on consumer purchases with no equity, no savings, no wealth building. If you had saved and invested that same monthly amount, you'd have about $18,500 after 5 years. The difference is $34,500 in net worth, the goods you'd have bought, plus the investment growth you'd have generated. That's the real cost of BNPL, not interest payments, opportunity cost. You're lying in bed, Thursday night. You're thinking about your checking account balance. You've got $340, but you have 2 BNPL payments hitting tomorrow, $70 and $55. After that, $215, and you need gas and groceries. And there's that dinner you committed to with friends on Saturday. You're doing the mental math. You're going to be tight, really tight. Maybe skip the dinner. Maybe ask to reschedule. Or maybe put the groceries on your credit card just this once. And that tightness in your chest, it's because you're realizing the BNPL payments are controlling your month. You have a job, you're making decent money, but every 2 weeks these payments hit and you're left scrambling. You never meant for it to get like this. Each purchase made sense at the time. Each payment felt manageable, but collectively, they've created constant financial pressure.
So here's how people who avoid the BNPL trap think about purchasing differently. They don't see BNPL as a tool for affordability. They see it as a tool that companies use to increase spending. So they opt out entirely. If they can't afford something up front, they save for it, or they don't buy it. When they see $70 over 4 payments, they mentally translate that back to $280. They ask, would I buy this if I had to pay $280 right now? If the answer is no, they don't buy it. The payment plan doesn't change the answer. And here's what happens when they follow that rule. They buy way less. They buy more intentionally. They only purchase things they've thought about and saved for, and their bank account isn't constantly drained by biweekly payment obligations. After a year, they've spent maybe $1,200 on consumer goods instead of $3,200. They've saved $2,000. They have a buffer. When an unexpected expense hits, they handle it. They don't panic. Meanwhile, the person using BNPL spent $3,200, saved $0, and when an unexpected expense hits, it goes on a credit card at 22% interest, because there's no other option. Same income, different frameworks, completely different financial outcomes. And here's the other thing they do. They track their total obligations, not just individual payments. They know that $70 every 2 weeks sounds small, but 5 of those plans running simultaneously is $690 a month. They see the total picture, not just the payment. Most BNPL users don't track the total. They track individual plans. I've got 4 payments left on the jacket, but they don't add up all the active plans to see the total monthly commitment. So they don't realize they've committed 20% of their income to payment plans until they're already in too deep. Now, let me be very clear about something. BNPL companies aren't inherently evil. They're providing a service. And for some people, in some situations, spreading a necessary purchase over a few months makes sense. But the way these companies market themselves, as a responsible alternative to credit cards, as a way to afford things you couldn't otherwise, that's misleading, because the data shows that BNPL doesn't help people afford necessities. It helps people buy more consumer goods than they would otherwise. The average BNPL purchase is discretionary: clothing, electronics, home goods, not groceries, not medical expenses, not car repairs, stuff people want but don't need. And the companies profit from this. They make money from merchant fees. Retailers pay them 2 to 6% of the purchase price to offer BNPL because it increases sales. They make money from late fees when you miss a payment, and some of them make money from interest on longer term plans. The system is designed to make spending easy and frequent. That's the business model, and it works. BNPL usage has exploded because it removes friction from purchasing. But removing friction from purchasing isn't good for your finances. Friction is what makes you pause and think, do I really need this?
So here's the thing about buy now, pay later. It's not about the interest rate. It's about the psychology. These companies have engineered a system that exploits mental accounting, payment parsing, and loss of financial awareness to make you spend more than you would otherwise. You see small payments and think you're being smart by spreading costs, but you're actually creating a payment treadmill that drains your cash flow, prevents savings, and makes you financially fragile. The person who avoids BNPL isn't missing out on the things they want. They're just buying fewer things more intentionally. And over time, that difference, $2,000 a year in spending avoided, redirected to savings, becomes the difference between financial stress and financial calm. You can have the stuff now and be broke later, or you can have less stuff now and be secure later. Most people choose the stuff. The ones who build wealth choose security.